Right, hello everyone. It's been a while since we last did this. I'm gonna pick it up from where we left off. Last time we modeled the shoes. We didn't finish it all on stream. I did some part of it off stream. It was mostly the laces. It took some time. If you wanna see how we set those up, it was basically a geometry node where we started with just the line. So I did the lines. I drew the curves like this, just manually. This is why I didn't stream it. It was a bit like boring to watch. Then I just did some stuff with geometry nodes that I'm not gonna go through today because that's a totally separate thing. So today I want to start with the hands of this guy. I don't want to keep like this look, even though I don't want to go for like a realistic hand. I still want to do like these kind of separate parts that are connected without even like geometrically being connected. So the topology isn't connected. It's just the mesh is next to each other. So I want to try to do a hand. I never did a hand before. So we have to start somewhere. So let's get the cursor to this point. First, let's do a UV sphere. Let's scale it down. So I want to do a finger because right now we already have the palm and the thumb. So this part and this part are already fine. We want to do the like one of the fingers, and then I think I'm gonna scale it and move it. I'm gonna do the fingers as 3 parts, like every bone would be one separate part. It's not gonna be something extremely complicated. I guess instead of a sphere, I should start with a cylinder. And as I said, this is not something that's gonna be realistic. And let's go for probably something less demanding for the GPU that we're using. So I'm gonna use the solid preview. So let's think about it a little bit. Let's make sure we are on the proper collection. So yeah, we're working with the proper. So let's not get distracted by all of these. So I have everything organized in collections as well. Also, I did some stuff in view layer because I wanted to like achieve a certain look. With that, I can go through it maybe in different streams. The shoes are in different separate collection, but that's fine. Okay, so let's do this. Let's first press Alt Z for the X-ray, G and Z. I'm just trying to capture the proportions right now. Then I'm gonna Shift D this. I'm looking at my hand actually when I'm doing this. Then this is the second part of the finger, and probably this is the last one. So they're not equal in distance. So probably the first 2 parts are equal, and the last one. So this and this are probably equal, but this is smaller. So that's what I'm trying to achieve now. And then there's a certain. Okay, so what's important here is the location of this pivot point, because when you want to rotate, from here. So you want the pivot point to be at the bottom part. So what we do is we can do this in in different ways, but I'm doing it the fast way in edit mode. So I'm just moving the objects in edit mode for it to meet the pivot point. So now this rotates on this and this rotates on that, and I can actually join them. So I can do like some parenting stuff. So probably like all of these will be children of. You press Ctrl P, keep transforms. So now you have this, and then Ctrl P, keep transforms, and then yeah, you can do this if you want to as well. Then I'm not sure if I retopologize or something that it's gonna break the relationship between the mesh, but it doesn't really matter right now. So I'm jumping into sculpt mode, then I'm going with like some sort of a symmetry, and then we press R. But first what I want to do is I want to make sure that the scale is set. So if you go to items in object mode, you see here that the scale is not at 1, and this can mess up a lot of the tools that we have in Blender. So press Ctrl A and apply the scale, apply the scale, apply the scale for all of these. So right now we have everything working properly. Now we want to go to sculpt mode, press on the R just to set the resolution. It shouldn't be something very small. It should be something like this probably. So, and then press Ctrl R to remesh everything. This is like the remesh algorithm that's built in Blender. That's Blender 4.0, by the way. Then I'm gonna smooth by pressing Shift these parts just to create the shape. I'm still using my mouse. I'm not using my pen for now. Probably won't need it. Okay, and then press G for the grab tool. F to change the size and just move it around. And then just let me make sure that we're still rotating from the proper side. Yeah. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna go to sculpt mode, into the R, and just make sure that the resolution is good enough. It doesn't have to be a lot of resolution. We don't need it. And just shape it to be somewhat believable. You can press on Alt Q when you're hovering over different objects so that you can see that they can jump quickly between them. And of course you have to do that. I wish I had the symmetry on for this, but it doesn't really matter actually. It is on here, it is not on the other part of the finger. I'm gonna smooth this a bit. So you have like this kind of inner shape to the inside, and this is where the nail is. So it's kind of like curved, you know, like this is a bit roundish. So we have to and then just the bones in here. It's not that much, I know, but doesn't really matter. I'm always looking at my fingers when I'm working on this, just to make sure that at least it looks believable somehow. And then we're gonna press R again for this one. Make sure we set the resolution to something smaller than the default. Something like this, Ctrl R. And just press X here for the symmetry on the X, just to make sure that we're applying the same thing on both sides. And as you can see, it's still easy. I'm gonna use my pen. It's easier to work with the pen. It's just trying to capture the shape of each part with the bone, and I'm gonna keep them separate, and now you can just rotate them as like you want. So let's move this here. Let's get the pawn, Shift D. Alright, so we have different ways to do that. We can either try to just apply these directly here and see how it goes, which probably I'm gonna do that. So if you're holding a phone like this, I'm looking at myself. So you have the first finger, then okay, let's do this directly. You know what? So if you're from this perspective, as if I'm trying to see things from my own angle, and then you have this first one. So this shape will actually be deleted in the end, but I'm gonna keep it just for the flow, and I'm gonna just keep these guys for now. Then we can just position things and scale things around. So let's rotate on different axes. We can just rotate the parent, we don't have to rotate everything else. I think this one should be rotated on the local z-axis. So this is why the hand is the hardest part, because you have to be able to see it from different angles, and you have a lot of moving parts in here. Alright, so just about positioning stuff now. So from different point of views, it's probably still too big, and probably I should have rotated these on their local x-axes, not from the top view, because it didn't do the proper effect. Now you can just scale the parent and everything else will scale accordingly. So this is the first finger. So if you're talking on the with the concept of 3D sketching, this is more than enough. But we'll see how far we will push it. Alright, so finger 1. Now what will happen if we duplicate this with it? Yeah, it will keep its relationship. So this one is a bit bigger, of course, that's the middle finger. So if you're holding a phone like this, the first finger should be like, I don't know, I don't have my phone next to me. So if you're holding, let's say this is a phone, so it should be something like this, right? So let's do this. Rotate on the x-axis. Rotate this on the x-axis. And probably all of this on the local Z, just to make sure it looks good. And then let's see what will happen on the local Y. That's also fine. Rotate on the Z. Rotate on the X. Too many moving variables. It's a bit complicated. I think we can delete this now. All right, rotate it also on the X, then rotate first on the local Z, then rotate on the X. It's just about making it look as believable as possible. Now, of course, you have to move things also around. So instead of modeling this and rigging it, I'm just trying to work on it during pose directly. Rotate it on the Z. It's looking weird. Let's see. So just the local Z, yeah, like this. And let's keep doing this. So yeah, it's looking fine for now. Let's do more. So probably the third finger should be the same distance as the first one, so we can just duplicate the first one. Then we can just rotate it on the Z as well. Then I think on the Y, it's a bit, you know, it's the same. So now let's just keep it the same. It's kind of looking good actually. We can rotate this probably on the Y a bit more. So rotate on the Y, on the local Y, or maybe on the local X. Let's try the Z axis a bit, and now, yeah, now the local Y makes more sense. It can be scaled a little bit down, it's a bit too big. Now you cannot rotate these in different, like you can only rotate this a bit just to capture the illusion of realistic hand. In reality, you cannot rotate as freely as I'm doing, but who cares? If it looks good, then it's fine. Let's try again. So if you're holding a phone, it should be something thinner than this. You're probably gonna hold it like this. So yeah, it's working fine. Rotate, probably on the z-axis like this. Then these should only be able to rotate on the x. That's looking good. And now let's duplicate the whole thing again. This one should be much smaller. That's the pinky. And we can go back, select this one, rotate it probably on the local Z as well, or maybe the local Y, and then on the local X. It's looking fine. This one should be rotated a bit more to match the fingers next to. So fingers should be parallel. They shouldn't be like going in different directions. At least not a lot. So rotate on the top like this. Then let's rotate on the Y. Kinda like this, yeah. I think it's looking good. The rendering is fine. Let's, you know what, let's go back to cycles and let's do the starting samples at 1 for the rendering so we can render much faster. Or we can even render at 0 actually. It's looking cool, but this is weird. That's the subsurface scattering working between meshes. But that's fine. So what we should do is select all of these. I think we can. No, let's do this. I'm pretty sure there's a faster way to select the parent and then select the children, but that's fine. It's not much of selections. And then Ctrl L and link materials. Right. Now let's work on this a bit more. So what we can do, I think we can add spheres here to make it look, to fill in these gaps, and then we can just maybe merge everything in the end. But I just wanna work a bit more on the structure of the hand first, so let's do this first. Let's move this up a bit. Let's move this up a bit as well. And then I want to scale everything a bit. I want like thicker finger. So scale, shift and double Z, and now you're scaling on the local X and Y. And you can do the same here. So scale, shift, double Z. So I'm tapping the Z letter twice. Again, scale, shift, double Z. Something like this. And scale, shift, double Z. Yeah, that's looking much better. And then we can scale this also. I don't know which direction this is oriented. That's just TikTok. Notifications, that's not important. So if you're holding a phone, you're holding it like this. So this one should be, let's get the pen. for this one. I can use the same approach I used here, but I don't want to actually, so that's fine. Now we can rotate this. Should we scale the phone a bit more? And now these are looking a bit weird. I'm gonna move them down a bit. And then I'm gonna rotate all of these on the axes. Although they're not rotating properly. Let's see. Should we do individual points? Let me see. So select everything, press on the period, then press individual points. Yeah. That worked much better. And then we can pick all of these, rotate also on the local axes. So what I was saying is, if I press Shift S, cursor to selected, then press Shift A, mesh, and select the UV sphere, and just go with the radius with something really small, just to fill in these gaps where we have the separation between the fingers. It doesn't have to be properly oriented or anything. Now we can do the same thing here, Shift S, Shift A, mesh, UV sphere, and we can move it just a bit per view. So then when we remesh everything together, at least you're gonna have some geometry here. You can just smooth things around if you wanna make it cleaner. Now let's sculpt this a bit more to fit the whole fingers. I think this has to be moved up a bit and on the Y inside, yeah. Yep. Now what we can do is Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift D, and then do Shift S, selected to cursor. Yeah. G on the Y, G on the X. Yeah, let's do this again. So Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift D, Shift S, selection to cursor, same thing. Cursor to selected, then we duplicate this, and selection to cursor. I think we should give them material before pushing too much forward with these, just so we can have the proper color. So linking the material, and you can see now it is looking a bit better. No. Yeah, it's looking good actually. Let's go for wireframe so we can see what we're doing. Let's see if we should be lighting this. It's just an HDRI so we can see what's happening. And let's see if it select a different one, if we rotate it a bit so we have a better view. And we just pushing vertices. That's it. That's everything we're doing right now, is just pushing vertices. Okay. Let's do the other finger, the other hand actually, but first let's rotate this a little bit. And I think what we can do as well is we can select these guys and then select the last thing, which is the pawn, and do Ctrl P, set parent to, and keep transform. So now if we move the pawn, we're moving everything with it, but we need also to work on these spheres. You know what, let's finalize the spheres before moving on. So let's just position them without worrying too much about matching topologies and something like this. We don't really care. So what we're doing is we're selecting the object where the pivot point is, that we care about, pressing Shift S, cursor to selected, then we're duplicating one of the spheres, pressing Shift S, and then selection to cursor, and now we can scale it a little bit. Again, we're just moving the cursor here. Let me turn on the cursor. There is here. So we're moving the cursor to the pivot point. We're picking one of the spheres, pressing Shift D. We're having a duplicate right now. Then what we do is Shift S and selection to cursor. I think I duplicated twice, but that's fine. Now I can scale this down because the pinky is a much smaller finger. Then I'm gonna pick this part, cursor to selected, and then I'm gonna selection to cursor this and scale it down by a lot. Now for the parenting of these guys, I think so this one, they shouldn't really rotate much with the fingers. I'm just thinking about it. So this should be the child of this actually. So if we do Ctrl P, keep the transform, yeah. So again, this should be the child of the one beneath it. Keep transforms as well. And again, let's do this here. I'm just doing this because I want to copy this thing to the other side. Keep transforms and Ctrl P, keep transforms. So now we rotate this, everything rotates with it. And yeah, everything is set up properly. Let's save it. So we wanna select the pawn. I think if we, no, doesn't work like this. There should be some sort of selecting all children. I'm not sure. Select link or select group children. Yeah, we can select the parent and then select all the children. Then we're gonna Shift D the whole thing. Go to top view probably. We can mirror this on the global X, I guess. Now rotation, you have to press on the period and select the median points, not the individual points like we were doing with the fingers. Now we can rotate the whole thing just to position it. So now it's just about rotation and positions. And I think we should do this. We can hide parts of this so we can work better. So let's hide the shoes. The socks should be part of the shoes actually, but it's not, so let's hide it. Just press H to hide it and then hide the leg. And now we can just rotate the pawn and everything should work properly. Alright. Rotate this down. We can delete this guy. It's looking good actually, better than expected. Let's cut some stuff around just to manage the proportions. I think this hand was bigger in my initial mesh. It looked nice when it was bigger, but that's fine. Rotate it probably on the X, yeah, something like this. So when you're seeing 3D sketch, there isn't anything that is geometrically anatomically correct, or you know, we don't really care about all of this stuff. We just want stuff that looks nice and should look like it is a sketch, so we shouldn't worry much about all the details. So I'm just rotating them on their local because we created them in the proper axes. So just rotate on the X. anyone who's stopping by and liking the video, that's amazing. Thank you so much. So we can delete also the thumb that is not connected, which is this one. It's a bit hot today. Let's sculpt thumb. I think it should be, what did I do? Let's save object mode. That was a good reminder that we should always save. Let's move vertices around for this to look more realistic than it currently is. So if we jump to the, it's kind of dark because everything is hidden, but it's looking cool with this preview. So always rotate on the X. So the thing with fingers, they're never like this. They're always like, the idle position of a hand is bent fingers. They're never like, you never do this unless you're actively trying to do something like catch a ball or something. So if you want to do relaxed positions, there should be a band, and the band is usually like, there's like some sort of a curve. It looks like a sphere, like you're holding a ball. You should always keep that in mind. Now let's keep sculpting. Just shapes. I can add, like we did the spheres, I can add them here. And that will like create like the knuckles maybe. But what we're seeing here with the end of the cylinders is good enough. So, because in the end, if you look at it like this, it's looking kind of good. So now let's unhide stuff just to see how it's working. So Alt H and just having a look around. Let's increase the starting sample of the denoiser to add a bit more details. Yep, that's more than enough for the look that I'm going for the style that I'm going for. I'm not sure if I want to join the meshes or retopologize or anything, but for now, in the camera point of view, it's looking good. Now this could be maybe rotated a bit. So I think we can also parent the phone to the palm as well. So now the whole thing rotates together. You can do this on a different point of view like this, and I think it could look a bit better like that. Probably, yeah. Yeah. I think I'm gonna stick to this for today, just doing the hands probably. I'm a bit tired, it's a bit late. I'm gonna start streaming at night from now on. So this is the first test to see if I can do this. Needs a bit of cleanup overall for the shapes to look fine. You know, let's do these cleanups now. So let's go back, and the line art is already hidden. Let's hide stuff. Keep the dude, keep the shoes. Now these are the hands. Yeah, so these are the hands, the sphere and everything. All of these should go in the dude collection. And this is the shoes, this is the generator. Let's turn back the dude back on. I think we need to work on the chairs in the next streams, probably. All right, let's just finalize how these parts are working together. I think we should do center selection in the preferences, where like whatever you select will become the center of your view. I'm not sure if this is I'm not sure if this is something that you can do from here. Selection, GPU, animation. I'm not sure if it's in the navigation, probably. Zoom to mouse position. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we can do that. New object. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've probably seen it in a YouTube video, but I'm not sure if I'm mistaken or something. Anyway, it's fine. Let's just finalize a few things for now, and so just pushing a bit the proportions. So as you can see, whenever you're sculpting, you never want to go for high res. Even in modeling, you just want to keep it slow and steady. So this is, if you stop at this phase, this is a sketch. If you want to keep pushing, then you're gonna start going into different styles, which is completely fine. But if you don't want to like overdo it, you don't have the time, you just want to see a design, you just want to try like a concept in 3D, just the block out is more than enough to create a cool style. And that's it. I think that's it. I probably do more polishing off stream. Now that's the camera view. That's how the dude look. I think I'm gonna do the chair in the next stream.